Okay, well, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to today's session, which is new ways to approach candidates. Obviously, quite a good subject, particularly at the moment. Just some housekeeping before we start. Those of you that have been here before will know this inside and out. There is a chat box at the top. If you have any questions, comments, or want us to cover anything that's not in the slides, you could just let us know in there. We have a little Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, feel free to get them loaded ahead of that. As you can see, I'm recording the meeting. If you want a copy of the recording for yourselves or your colleagues to have a look at, just send us an email, sales@PharmiWeb.com, and we'll get that over to you. I think that's everything we need to cover in that case, Vince. Let's get started.
Absolutely. Okay. Hi, everybody. Just to add something to what Simon said, we do have our quarterly report on industry trends, which will be available from around lunchtime tomorrow. So anyone that requests a copy of the recording, we're more than happy to share that document with you as well, which covers pretty much all facets for the industry. So it'd be something for you to have a look at. Okay, let's crack on with this particular presentation. So for you that don't know me, I'm the Managing Director of PharmiWeb.com. I've been doing this job now for just over 27 years. So we're fairly attuned to what's going on both locally and globally. And what we try and do is to work out what's hot, what's not, what actually works. And Simon, introduction from yourself.
Yeah, I'm Simon. I've been with PharmiWeb now for about 4.5 years, and I spend all day, every day speaking to pharma companies, biotech, CRO, recruitment companies. So between me and Vince, we've kind of got all of the data we've got from these various sources and kind of put it into these chunks, these webinars for you guys to digest at your own leisure.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Okay, so first of all, the key thing for us is really looking at what the competition are doing and who's doing most of the recruitment. And by far, which you'd expect, Google controls around 65% of all recruitment traffic using its own search algorithms. LinkedIn, us, Indeed, and Glassdoor are the other main ones on there. There are a couple of small colloquial ones. There's Biospace in the US as well. But essentially, most of the recruitment is actually around about 80% is actually done on those 5 sites. And we've got some core views here. So Simon, let's have your views first of all. I'm going to add a few little bits to this as we go along, really.
Yeah, of course. So, you know, 4 years on, we'd think we'd stop mentioning it, but the balance of power is still shifting every day following COVID and how things kind of redid the recruitment industry around that time. As always, we think that tapping into passive talent is a must in order to find the best candidates, and finding them in places that other people won't be looking. According to LinkedIn, currently about 70% of the global workforce is made up of passive talent. The average global tenure of a job has increased as well by about 8 months in the UK and about 6 months in the US, which is huge by their standards. Economic uncertainties really kind of forcing a lot of candidates to not look at the job market so much these days and to sit tight while they're not sure what's going to happen. You know, we've got a year of rather big elections across the globe, which are going to change potentially the way that things are done on a day-to-day basis. So all of these things that candidates now have to consider. As always, ahead of these webinars, we go out and we speak to some industry leaders in different industries and our own, just to get those kind of viewpoints. And one particular phrase really stuck out to me by someone in IT. And he basically said that the way that we're trying to recruit people in today's day and age is much like trying to run modern day apps on Windows 95. What we're used to doing just isn't fit for purpose anymore. So we've got to kind of change it up a little bit, and that's kind of what we're going to cover in this session today.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay, sorry, yeah, just this will move on fairly quickly. Some of the other big challenges I think which are going to affect everybody is obviously there's a lot of baby boomers retiring. How are you going to replace those people? Who's going to mentor the people coming up below them? Which is a big issue for most people in the industry. So you've got to think about how you're going to recruit people. Following up on what Simon said, I saw an insert into one of the Biospace reports that said around 72% of people in the US are either casually or actively looking for jobs, but they're not actually moving. Everyone's sitting and waiting to see what happens. It's a very difficult year for everybody in all market sectors, and clinical research, medcoms, biometrics are all suffering badly from all of those things. So the key thing for me when we're looking at all of these things is what's actually working. And that's what we've been picking up on. So we're going to share some of those things for you today. So the first thing is, what are the candidate needs? Well, the big shift is work-life balance is now more important than anything else. So if you're going to try and attract someone, you've got to think about them as an individual. Money is still second place, but it's not the key thing. The other things that we pick up on are the people that they work with. You know, people want to learn from people. They want to see what they can get personally out of being involved in an environment or a work environment that's going to help and support them. We're seeing a lot more candidates, especially Gen Z and Gen X, that are looking for personal development roadmaps. So what training are they going to get from when they start? What's in it for me when I achieve those goals? What are my milestones to get fast track promotion? All of those types of things. And we're starting to see quite a big growth in internal employees looking for training courses that are outside of their main area, so they can actually learn new skills as they go along doing their own job. Culture is really important. That's up by 7%. Morale of the company is really important. You know, candidates are going to look for that as soon as they see anyone or get approached by anybody. The performance of the organization. And then finally, last year, obviously the big one for us was around about 10% of people actually left organizations because of recognition. So making sure the management is fit for the type of person that you're trying to recruit for. So obviously those things are quite important. We always say, what are the top hiring challenges? They haven't changed at all in the last couple of years. Candidate identification, cultural fit, and candidate engagement. The cultural fit thing seems to be more important. So one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of clients about recently is actually employing the right person, not necessarily the best person, because the right person is the person that's right for you as an organization, and you can mold them into the person that you want them to be. If you're taking on someone that's already got preconceived ideas or views on what they think the job should be, that's not always the right person, even if they're the best person on paper. Just a thought. Same thing applies as normal. You've got 4 clicks or 9 seconds to get someone's interest in anything that you do, whether you're approaching them directly, whether you're sending them emails, messages, whatever it is. You have a very short period of time, primarily because, according to our data, about 92% of people find information initially on their mobile device. Google's around 74%, but I think for our industry, it's a lot higher. So when we're looking at some of the core issues, really, there's a whole range of issues around trying to recruit and approach millennials, Gen Z, Gen X as they move up through. Habits have changed and evolved, and I think the most important thing for us is you need to almost personalize and individualize everything that you do. And there's one thing that works better than almost anything else. So we'll talk about that as we move forward. Habits have changed over the last couple of years. There are no peaks and troughs in recruitment now. Every single month is a good month, including December, August, etc. You can apply for a job on your mobile phone from anywhere, including the Sun Lounger in the Caribbean. However, activity levels, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for anyone in EMEA and the rest of the world apart from the US. Thursday's still a good day, and that's primarily because they are mainly active on the first 3 days. Work-life balance has changed the dynamic. Most people want their weekends free. They don't really start to think about looking at jobs, so you can see things tailing off. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you're in EMEA, you can include Thursday into that if you're in the US. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, which is a big reversal because they used to be fairly productive in the past. And it's all about this. It's the amount of interactions you need to have with somebody before they'll even consider you as the employer of choice, or if you're in recruitment, the recruitment consultancy of choice. And basically what you're trying to do is have enough interaction with them to build awareness, make them consider you, and finally make the decision to apply for one of your jobs. 7th time in Europe and EMEA, and obviously if you're looking at Asia Pac as well. In the US, it can be as much as 20 times. Because there's a lot more commercial traffic on your mobile device in the US. So you do need to work harder to get these people to actually do something. And we're going to go really now starting to look at omnichannel. This is a little bit about what Simon was talking about. So the key thing here is you can't afford just to do one thing. You've got to do lots of things all at the same time. So you need to think about what you do. And one of the things that we do that works as a key is we think about candidate signposting. Where are they actually going to see things? So you've got social media sites, you've got job boards, search engines, all sorts of digital comms, including newsletters, push technology, websites like ourselves, and anywhere else, like blogs. Blogs are very good if you're trying to find someone that's very niche in a certain area. So if you were primarily looking for people in oncology, go and have a look at the oncology blogs. Start to have a voice in those places. And obviously, TikTok, Instagram, all of those places are actually quite good as well, because that's where people are, and these things will actually pop up. Simon, over to you. Why don't you start talking about how we actually captivate that traffic?
Yeah, one of the big things that we see when it comes to candidate journey is a huge amount of drop off at that early point. So, you've spent a load of money on, let's call it LinkedIn advertising. You've got eyes on your stuff, but then the minute they click the link, they're taken to a rubbish website, or they're taken to a page or Workday, whatever it is, and the journey begins to get a little bit ropey from there in. What we've noticed is by creating landing pages, and you can either do that yourself organically, or you can do that through a provider like PharmiWeb or Indeed. By creating a landing page where the candidate can get all of the information about your organization ahead of the application, not only does it improve the journey, but it improves the retention of the candidate through the journey as well. They're more likely to finish applying there and then if they have all the information. What we see a lot of candidates doing is they go, oh, I quite like that job, I'm going to favorite that, and I'll come back to it later when I'm at my desktop. They won't do that now. If you have got a landing page like this, they'll go, I'll look at the landing page and I'll learn all about the organization first, and by the time I've done that, I can apply. It makes that journey so much smoother. And on these landing pages, you can embed video, you can embed blogs, you can put awards, you can put about your team, case studies, meet us, you want to put. It's completely flexible. So by captivating that traffic from day one, you're not only improving their journey, but you're getting your brand and the why work for us message out there much quicker than if you were to do it separately. Over to you again, Vince.
Yeah, sure. So, and another thing on this, when we're looking at the dynamics and the figures from clients, especially around return on investment, a lot of people are actually producing these like a micro site, or they're producing the materials and then using them on lots of different sites. So no matter where the candidate actually finds information from you or sees your employer branding or EVP, they're getting a consistent message. The biggest issue that a lot of candidates have when they're starting to look at organizations, they get a bit lost, they get a bit confused. Are they still in your site? Are they in someone else's site? So making sure that there's very good consistency in what you're actually saying is really important, and these actually help you to do that. So wherever you can, start to put these up. If you're going to create them once, use them in as many places as you can. Okay, moving on. Do you want me to talk about the subliminal messaging, Simon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. So the other thing that has been working really well for a lot of our pharma clients, especially the sort of small to medium sized ones, including some of the bigger ones here like CSL, is actually using subliminal messaging, and their storytelling is actually very good. So, the key one here on this one at the bottom, over a century ago in Melbourne, Australia, we made a promise to save lives and protect the health of people who were stricken by a range of serious and chronic medical conditions. Today, as the leading global biotech company, that same promise has never been stronger. We are driven by a deep passion to serve hundreds of thousands of patients and other stakeholders across the world. That is an amazing statement. So if you have something like that, start to use it where you can, because it really does affect the ethos of you as an organization, what people think about you, people's passion for what they want to do. It makes you the employer of choice as far as they're concerned, as long as you've got a good enough message. The other thing you can do is you can think more about these career roadmaps, what I was talking about earlier. So some people like to visualize these. If you want more information what they look like, I've got 2 different versions that we actually use to promote to a lot of our clients. Free of charge, we just send them over to you, and it gives you like a cadence or a route to follow. So the candidate can actually look at the different milestones they need to achieve, not only in their role, helps them with their performance management. So when the management's actually performing and talking to them about, did you actually achieve these goals? Did you do these things? And that allows them to see their own progress. It keeps them tied into the company and what you're actually doing. And then the final one really is when you're looking at employees, get your employees to talk about you. It's the number one thing that most candidates look for. They want to see videos of your employees saying how great it is to work for you as an organization, talking about their career progress, things that they're doing, their training, the interest they get in what the actual organization is doing and the opportunities they get. That says more about you than anything else. If you want to really ramp up what you're doing, get people on film, ideally 60 to 90 seconds. Okay. And then I'll pass over to you, Simon, because you can talk more about the video, because this is the key.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when it comes to video, it's not just a employer branding exercise. There are so many different ways that you can use video, even when it comes to attracting candidates. So I'll talk a little bit more about those in a second. But here's some stats, because us, we love numbers and stats here. 87% of marketers say that video is a very effective tool for increasing awareness, and they're absolutely right. Today's generation and the generation coming up and the generation coming up is more engaged with video than any other generation before. All day, every day, video is used either in schools or in colleges, universities, social life, whatever it is. People are always learning. So by engaging with that and creating content that people can easily access anytime, you're increasing your brand awareness. 57% of people say that creating video is easy. Quite a simple one, that one. 86% of people say it's good for learning. My dad has a saying for DIY around the house: if ever you don't know how to do something, go on YouTube and there will always be a man in Texas who will show you how to do it. Absolutely true. Whatever the household task, YouTube it and you'll learn. Why don't we apply that to recruitment advertising? Why don't we apply it to the job hunt, to attracting candidates? And 50% of people say that COVID-19 pushed video to new levels of importance. Absolutely true again, because we were all locked up for a year. We didn't have much else to do other than consume video. So, it was a really, really good time for that and changing the balance of how it's used. On to the next slide, please. This is a very simple one, but a very interesting one. Because of the way that most social media engines and platforms are wired these days, there's been a change in the way that people share video. Normally, you're used to seeing people filming kind of like that. A simple switch to vertical video, which is the preferred method of video for all of these sites, increased views by 500% and watching time by 319%. And this was in a survey done by Knowlton Marketing back in Q3 of 2023. So really relevant current data. And very interesting that they bring this up, because when you look on LinkedIn, the few people that do share video every day, it's all done in this exact format. So it's worth making that little switch if you haven't already. On to the next one, please. As I said, there's lots of different types of video. So here are a couple of different types that you can use. The first is a short video, less than 60 seconds. That's the kind of prime length, I guess, for attention spans. And again, that's kind of a generational thing from millennials downwards. The attention span needs to be captured a lot quicker. And as we mentioned earlier, 9 seconds to catch their attention. So we're really, really playing with time here. We reckon, though, that for recruitment purposes, you could probably push it to 90 seconds, just because there is generally a lot more information that people want on that kind of first meeting. The second is a long video. That's sort of more than 3 minutes. It's more structured. It might have music broken up with graphics, that kind of thing. You might see site videos for certain companies. I know GSK did this with their new site in Cambridge. They put a video out about it, why it's economically friendly, why it's environmentally friendly, and that was rather nice. A video graphic, something that uses animation, sound, and motion to illustrate otherwise dull info. You see this quite a lot in regulatory affairs because there's so much to take in. They find nice ways to kind of show that information in a way that's more pleasing to the eye. Live video is brilliant for engagement and connection. It costs absolutely nothing. You'll see some of the LinkedIn top voices in recruitment, people like Andy McCaskill. He'll do these lives every Wednesday lunchtime where you can go in and he'll give you tips on what to do for your career, for your job hunt, whatever it is. So a really good way of getting loads of people in and engaged. And then finally, a webinar. Much like this, great for humanization of a brand. I think it was Costello Medical. They did a virtual careers day recently where they just got their talent acquisition team. They got a medical writer, they got a medical editor, and they also got a doctor to sit on a panel. And they would just ask questions by people that were coming in about what's it like to work for Costello? What can we expect? What was your career journey like? And it was just exceptional. Very, very small, if not zero, cost to do this kind of thing. And if you're really struggling with how to get one of these set up, just come and ask us. We do a webinar every month. We can help you. No problem at all. On to the next one, please. So I wanted to share a couple of videos, just an idea of what they look like. I'm not going to press play on them and make you watch them now because that would be dull for all of us. But about us, what's it like working with us kind of videos are really, really good. This one is from Headcount. They're a outstanding recruitment company out in Switzerland, and they have really humanized themselves as people, scientists, and recruiters all in one. And this video series particularly made them stand out amongst pretty much all of the others out there. On to the next one, please. So this is Warman O'Brien. This is Mark O'Brien, who founded the recruitment company. He did a whole video on why you'd want to join his company, particularly, what's in it for you as a recruiter? What can you expect? Why us and not, let's say, Barrington James, for example? He gave a whole list of reasons, and this was quite good because a lot of people resonated with that. On to the final one then, please. And this is the one that I would really like you to take away from today. Some of you might actually be on this webinar today because you received a video from me a little bit like this. Using a Google plugin called Vidyard, that's Vidyard, you can record a screen with a little icon of you in the bottom corner, and you can send a personalized video to someone. Now, if you're hiring for a really niche role that that there's only 20 people in the country that could do that job, you could go on their LinkedIn page. You could film their LinkedIn page with the little icon of you going, "Oh, hi, Mike, I'm hiring for this role, and I've looked at your page and these skills of yours stand out." And you can give them the elevator pitch in 60 seconds in a video and send it to them in an email. Now, the key here is if you embed it as a kind of thumbnail, they will see their LinkedIn page on the thumbnail and they'll go, "Oh, hold on, that's a video of me. I'm going to watch it." And you increase your open rate by about 60-70%. So huge numbers by just doing that one simple thing. If you want to know a little bit more about how to do these, or you want me to send you an example one, I've got a whole library of them. So I can send them to you. You can have a look, see what you think. On to the next slide, please, Vince. So job advertising. So this is one question. I've actually got a question here for later as well. So I'm going to try and answer this at the same time. Recruitment advertising, it's not really getting the traction that it used to. Why? So the parameters of a good job advert have changed over the last few years. It's less of a job description, more of an advert now. So you actually need to put less information in, but that information does need to be clearer and more concise. So 1 to 300 words is the optimum length of a job advert. A clear keyword-driven job title. So make it really obvious what they're going to be doing. Medical sales representative, Germany. Can't get more clear than that, can you? One little paragraph on an intro to the position, and that then invites them to read on. So a tiny, tiny bit. The benefits of the role first, why this role over any other role on the market. The benefit for them second, what does the applicant get? And then finally, you finish it with a call to action. To learn more, come and look at our landing page, watch this video, go to our careers site, whatever it is. So more concise than ever. On to the next one, please. And then finally, AI. It's been a couple of years now that AI have really pushed into the recruitment game, and they've come up with some really cool bits of kit that you can use to attract people. Creating engaging job adverts, as we've just said, is really important. If you're not confident in doing this or you don't have the time to do this, there are AI tools out there that can make this easy for you. Avatar style video, if you've got a horrible face like me, you might choose to use an avatar video instead of one of you yourself. That way you're not going to scare people off like I do. You can quickly create candidate specs, saving time. I speak to one agency owner, and he has saved himself 5 hours every week in doing specs, just by basically giving that to an AI machine to do instead. It can also help you pinpoint the areas in your recruitment funnel that aren't working very well. Where's the biggest area of drop off? HR and talent acquisition is notoriously understaffed, and that's a large part due to funding. What you can do is you can set up AI to keep candidates warm until you can review them. And that might be with a post application cadence of, hi, watch this video of Linda. She's one of our scientists. It might be, we've got a little survey for you. Just make them feel included until a real human can get to them. Vetting tools, you can input your requirements and AI is going to filter people by the best fit. And then questions for interview and interview support as well. All of these tools now readily available for us to use. On to the next slide, please, Vince, which I'll let you take over because I now need to drink some water.
Okay. So I think the key to this is really looking at, have a strategy, a plan, and make sure the technology in place with your team so you can actually do all these things quite quickly and succinctly. The world is speeding up. I think in the last 10 years, the latest quote I had was the world has actually sped up by over 300%. Our minds, our brains, the information we get in, the information we push out are much more intense than they ever have been. And there's a lot more to do. You need to think about why you. So why do you want that person, and why do they need to come to you? And drop the buzzwords that you need to attract people. Works especially well in blogs. You've got to think about your EVP. It's not an option now not to have really good, strong EVP down to an individual site level. So if you've got candidates that you might be attracting from Europe and you're looking at London, it's got to be talking about London. A lot of companies make the mistake about talking about what they do globally. Well, candidates are not interested. You can almost go down to a single town. If you're interested in Woking, you're interested in Woking. You don't care what you do in Scotland. To be very, very clear on that. So be very clear on those locations. Omnichannel coverage is absolutely important because if you're going to produce something, use it in as many places as you can. Don't just use it and put it in one place. A lot of people are making a mistake of just putting things on LinkedIn. It's very easy to actually put it out to 5, 6, 7, 8 other places. You don't know where the best candidate is. We need to make sure you give yourself all the best options. Think about the benefits of that individual location, because some countries have different benefits to others. The classic one is, if you've got a free parking space, well, that's great, but it doesn't really mean very much if you're in the middle of a farmyard somewhere. But if you're in the middle of a city, it does make a difference. So think about the individual things. Make sure you utilize your tech stack. One of the biggest complaints that we get, or biggest feedbacks we get from companies that we're working with directly, is they might have 40, 50 different tools that are at their disposal. They probably only ever use 5. It's a lot of money sat in the background being paid for if you're not going to use it. And empower your talent acquisition teams with those tools. Make sure they know what they've got, what's in the packages, what can it actually do. Make sure they're properly trained rather than doing the same thing in and out all day. Things like job adverts. I do a lot of training for people on recruitment advertising. The market has changed. It's changing every single day. Different things are working to what they were before. So change your job adverts. Make them more personal. Keep them up to date. Overhaul them. Don't just use lots and lots of heavy text-based material because it's never going to get watched. On turn of that, you can also think really long and hard about your staff retention. We're in a quiet phase at the moment. We've been there for the last 6 months. When it kicks off, it's going to kick off big time. So think about things that are going to hold them in place. Internal mobility is one of the best ones. And again, think about personal development for all of those candidates as well. Anything else you'd consider for that, Simon?
I think those are the big ones for me as well. I would say that it's definitely a bigger focus on personalization now than it ever has been. You know, people are being approached, particularly on LinkedIn, more often than ever before. So you've got to do something to stand out. And I maintain that personalized videos are the way forward.
Yeah, good. The other thing that you can do, which I've seen some companies do very well, and a few of them have actually done it with us, is you can actually do your own videos that you can then push out on LinkedIn especially. So anything around D&I, anything around your corporate strategy, where you see yourselves going, where you're planning on developing, all of those sorts of things are really good, because what you're doing is you're setting yourself up as the employer of choice. And the other good thing about all of this video is it's evergreen. It's always going to be there. It's going to be working in the background when you're not there. People will look back, and even if they see something that's old and it's still good, they're still going to want to come and work for you. Simplest thing to do, but make it really personal, down to the individual. Okay, so just from our point of view, we do a lot of these webinars. They are all available online. You can get to them. We can send you videos on them. Go and have a look at the video stack. If there's anything that you want to see and have another look at, they're all about half an hour long. We'd be more than happy to give you the links to those. So, any questions?
Yeah, we've got a few in the box, but again, if anyone has any other questions or wants to stick around and ask a little bit more, please do feel free. More than happy to take any other questions. So the first one is video. What if we can't do it? Can't or won't, I guess, would be the clarifying question there. If you can't do it for whatever reason, I would argue that you need to have a chat with somebody in IT about what's the risk, why can't you. If it's you don't feel personally you can do it, do your first one, send it to a friend. They're going to be rubbish when you start out, but if you do them to the people you know, the warmest people, you can get good at it and you'll feel more confident, and then you just tear through a list of people in no time at all. Anything you'd add to that, Vince?
Yeah, I think so. The thing when I work with quite a lot of small regulatory consultancies, some clinical consultancies, etc., and CROs. The thing I advise them to do is actually put a plan together of the video they'd like to create. And that includes things like every person that joins you should do a short video, which you may or may not use, talking about why they decided to join you as an organization. Very, very powerful if you can start getting that running on a regular basis, because it gives you evergreen material that's new and being picked up by the search engines all the time. So really think long and hard about that. Any other questions, Simon?
Yes, I've got.
Thanks, Samantha.
Thanks, Samantha. See you again. I've got here candidates. They seem to be ghosting us more often than they were in the past and playing us against one another. How do we become the one that they pick at the end of that process?
Is that to me?
to us.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. So again, this is all about changing the perception of the candidates for you as an organization. Your EVP, your employer branding, the messaging you're giving them. If you want to stop someone playing, then you really just got to put them on the spot and say, look, this is the offer, this is what we're doing. One of the biggest complaints that we're getting across the board, literally from almost Gen X, Gen Z, some millennials, is they always play the game. Their expectations are far too high. So if you want to stop that happening, make it very clear in your advertising or when you first speak to them that this is the package that they're coming for. It's non-negotiable. You can't keep going up. You can't ask for a car. You can't change the hours you work, all those sorts of things. You'll be flexible, but they're there to do a job. And they're just playing the game. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more of that in the future unless you contain it and restrict it right now. That's my personal view.
I think that there needs to be a bit more of why, why come here, why us over someone else. I think we have generations coming that are more in touch with their morals perhaps than we've seen in the past. They care more about what's being done to the environment, to the planet, to people. So if you can appeal to someone's conscience in your recruitment process by saying, come and work with us, you will be saving lives, you'll be helping people walk again, you'll be helping people go out in the sun, whatever it is, play to their heart. Make sure that them as a person is fully aligned with you and what your mission statement is. That way, there's no way you can lose. I guess that would be my advice.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You want the right
Yeah,
person for you, not necessarily the best person for you, and there's a big difference there.
exactly that. Exactly that.
Yeah.
I've always found people that apply to jobs because they have a vested interest in them tend to be way more engaged with the process. So if you have let's say eczema and you want to work for a life science company, you might go and work for Leo Pharma, because they have done a lot for the eczema space. So think about the kind of people and why they'd work for you, and then play on that. Um, our job advertising is getting little to no traction on the UK generic sites. We used to get about 1 in 5 applications. So that's what, like a 20% response rate, let's say. But that seems to have petered off a bit. Any reason that could be?
I think from my point of view, a lot of it is marketing and money, basically. So on generic sites, they've only got so much money, and we're in difficult times. Everyone's suffering from the economy, and everything else is going in the market. If you request the trends document from us afterwards, which will be free tomorrow, that'll give you some background as to what's going on in the economy and investment. And I think that's all of it, really. When everyone's struggling. You can't spend £20 million on marketing if you've only got £5 million in the budget. It's as simple as that. Everything is in flux at the moment. I think the other thing that we're all suffering from, and this is literally everybody on this webinar, is the amount of noise in the world. So noise in the form of sound, information, questions, um, just everything that's going on all the time. Social media just bombards you, which is why we're starting to see one of the facts on the sheet I was looking at earlier, something like 48% of people that work in pharma and life sciences alone feel anxious or uncertain all of the time. This is a big issue that we're all facing, and well-being is becoming more and more important. So I think that's some of the reason behind that.
Yeah, I'd also say, as we mentioned earlier, economic uncertainty is making people maybe less actively apply for roles. We're not sure what's going to happen, particularly in the UK with our government. We don't know where we're going to be in 6 months' time. So is now the right time to jump role when you could be made redundant in 8 months? People are weighing these up as options more than they've had to do over the last few years, certainly. And I'd also say that, as we mentioned sort of earlier, job adverts, the way that they are done has changed. If you're still doing the same kind of job adverts you were doing 5 years ago, that will be the exact reason why your response rate's kind of going, because people aren't engaging with that as much. But again, if you're happy to send me a couple of your job ads, and I can give you a really honest view on what's wrong with them. There could be nothing wrong with them. They could be great, actually. But it would be good to hear that also, wouldn't it? So yeah, send them over to us at sales@PharmiWeb.com, just on the screen there, and I'll review them and I'll come back to you. And then the last one here. So if anyone does have any other questions, now is definitely the right time. The last one here is, I was on a webinar of yours a few months ago and you were talking about candidate fraud. Do you have any updates on this since the last time you mentioned it?
We do. So it's quite difficult to share specific information on that because it is confidential. Candidate fraud in this industry and almost every other industry is rife. And it's not just basic candidates. Over half of it is organized crime. You need to check and double check absolutely everything you know about a candidate before you take them on. And then make sure that the person that you interviewed is the person that actually turns up for the job as well. Don't assume that that's how it's going to work. I think I don't want to say any more on that.
No, I completely understand that. Yeah, in terms of the numbers, I would say it's probably higher from what I'm seeing. Some companies that I've spoken to have reported that despite setting up really, really great ways to gatekeep this, they're adapting, in the same way that anyone would to anything. So yeah, it's getting harder, that's for sure, to ascertain who is fraudulently applying and who's not. It's definitely rife, as Vince said. So that actually brings us to the end of all of our questions. Vince, is there anything you wanted to mention before we go?
No, just wanted to thank everyone for attending. And if you have any questions or want to have a personal session, feel free to contact us. It's not going to cost you anything other than your time, and we're always here to help. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Absolutely, and thank you ever so much for giving up some of your time to be here with us today. It's great to see a nice mix of old and new. So hi to anyone whose first time this is, and hi to anyone who's been here before. Hopefully, we'll see you all on the next one, which is going to be around mentoring, why it's so important within life sciences. We've spent a lot of time over the last month speaking to various companies about what they're doing for their future talent and their future C-suite. So if anyone wants to come along to that, that's going to be in 4 weeks today. So we'll see you there. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Thanks, everybody.